Information session is designed to update you on our progress and address your questions. We plan to address as many questions as possible during the question and answer period at the end of the presentations. Updated information about Reclamation's implementation of bipartisan infrastructure law is always available at www.usbr.gov/BIL or on the Inflation Reduction Act at www.usbr.gov/inflation-reduction-act. You may find the links in the chat, or they are linked from Reclamation's homepage. Also, feel free to submit your questions, comments about either of them. Bipartisan infrastructure law can be submitted to usbr.bil@usbr.gov, or Inflation Reduction Act questions can be sent into usbr.ir.act@usbr.gov, and we will work to address your questions. We also have a growing list of frequently asked questions, and we hope that you find that as a helpful resource. We're committed to transparency throughout this process and appreciate your support of this historic opportunity to improve our nation's water infrastructure. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Deputy Commissioner, Roque Sanchez.
Hey, thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Commissioner Tootin, the entire leadership team here at Reclamation, and the almost 6,000 professionals who fulfill Reclamation's mission every day, thank you for joining us today. We're very pleased to talk with you about putting the resources of the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the BIL, to work in your communities and on projects with the greatest possible impact. We're committed to ensuring that these investments deliver meaningful results for you and for the American people. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to get out and see many of the hundreds of BIL and IRA funded projects across the 17 Western states. It's been great to see our partnerships in action, making progress towards resilient water supplies and modernized water infrastructure for our families, farms, and communities. With nearly 600 BIL projects funded to date and nearly 250 projects under the IRA, we're proud of the work that we've done together so far and even more excited about what's still to come as we complete the implementation of these generational investments together. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Sean Torpey, who's going to get it started for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Roque. Deputy Commissioner Sanchez, appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon to others. And I'm going to talk briefly today what our agenda is going to entail for you all. We're going to first review our IRA, our Inflation Reduction Act, and Bipartisan Infrastructure Law funding opportunities. We'll also look at what these funding opportunities are, multiple rounds, some implementing more than one authority. We'll also look at other developments since our last quarterly update, which was on June 7th, 2024. We'll give you a quick Buy America update and refresher, and then we'll close it out with some reminders, some program sunsets, and some expectations versus reality. So that's our agenda for today. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is our Inflation Reduction Act dashboard. You can see the web address above. Please feel free to visit it. This is our opportunity to showcase the projects that we have announced to date. As you'll see on this slide, we have 232 projects. If you go to the website now, we have 236 projects for about $2.6 billion announced. The tabs at the bottom there, as you can see where it says MAP, drought mitigation, domestic water, canal improvements, and water savings, those tabs all allow you to click on them, and it shows you what we've announced, obligated, and expended to date. We try to keep this up as close to real time as possible, but we're usually a few days behind announcements and things to that matter. And you will see in the next few days quite a bit of obligations go up. We've had some recent large obligations, so that will change our numbers as well. But feel free to please visit this frequently and check on how we're doing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Natalie Washington with our Native American Affairs Office to do the next slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. IRA Section 50231 domestic water supply funding is designed to address ongoing needs of disadvantaged communities who still have no reliable access to drinking water. In the Reclamation 17 Western states, this includes all tribes, many smaller towns and cities. Progress continues on implementation of Section 50231 domestic water supply projects. Reclamation has several different means to allocate funds to meet the goals of this section through WaterSmart funding opportunities to eligible U.S. territories, a whole of government work with other agencies, and the Tribal Domestic Water Supply Program funding announcement. Next slide, please. Through WaterSmart's planning and project design and drought resiliency program, Reclamation has announced $158 million in project selections to help communities prepare and respond to water reliability challenges due to drought and other water scarcity concerns. This will support 76 projects in 14 states. $82 million of this investment is funded through the Inflation Reduction Act. Other WaterSmart opportunities will be funded through the IRA as long as funds remain available. Also in May, Reclamation released a funding opportunity providing $11 million in domestic water supply assistance to America Samoa, Guam, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands for projects in disadvantaged communities or households that do not have reliable access to potable water. Submissions for technical assistance closed on August 25th. However, submissions for financial assistance are open until September 22nd. Next slide, please. In April, the department announced a new memorandum of understanding with the Indian Health Services to further develop safe drinking water and community sanitation infrastructure projects across Indian country. Through the MOU, our two agencies will collaborate to complete studies, planning, and design to be used in constructing domestic water infrastructure projects. This collaboration is aimed at accelerating completion of such facilities in tribal communities. The MOU follows President Biden's Executive Order 14112, which directs federal agencies to work together to remove barriers and streamline tribal access to resources. One project has been identified so far, and other projects are forthcoming. Next slide, please. The bulk of Section 50231 funding has been set aside for assistance to tribes. The Tribal Domestic Water Supply Program Phase 1 application period closed August 4th, 2024, and applications are currently being reviewed. 39 tribes applied for funding, 48 applications were received, including 42 for planning and design activities and 6 for construction activities. These application requests totaled $191 million in funding requests. Phase 2 of this program will be announced in the 2027-2028 timeframe, with funding going solely towards construction. Receiving funding under Phase 1 is not a prerequisite for Phase 2 funding. However, priority will be given to those who received Phase 1 funding and successfully completed planning and design of their proposed projects. And I'll turn it over to Darian.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Section 50232 of the Inflation Reduction Act is for canal improvement projects. So Reclamation received $25 million to design, study, and implement projects, including pilot and demonstration projects to cover water conveyance facilities with solar panels to generate renewable energy and have a host of other clean energy goals and support, I should say, a host of other clean energy goals as well. So Reclamation has selected 4 different projects. We have already entered into a financial assistance agreement with the Gila River Indian community for $5.65 million. That work and the panel construction has already been completed, making it one of the first projects constructed of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. The project is expected to be fully operational in October after some of the final connections are made to the electrical equipment and infrastructure. The next slide. So this next slide just shows us some of the various different pictures that they shared with us from out in the field when they were doing construction. So you can see the footers there to the left, them actually placing the panels. It's pretty impressive how quickly the Gila River Indian community was able to get this project in place. And we're really excited to have a partnership with them and learn more. The next slide. We've got 3 additional projects that we've selected that we're working to enter into financial assistance agreements with right now. That is with the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority. They're going to place 3 different types of floating solar technologies in the Delta Mendota Canal and kind of validate these different types of designs and understand the different uses of these technologies and how they impact the Delta Mendota Canal. And similarly, the North Union Irrigation District is also using floating solar technology. They're in Oregon in our Columbia Pacific Northwest region. This is going to be on the main canal of the Deschutes project, and that's for $2.55 million. And then the final project listed here is with the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. They're placing solar panels over the Layton Canal project in Utah. That's $1.5 million. That's in our upper Colorado basin. And they are using a canal spanning type of technology. So similar to what you saw with the Gila River Indian community, rather than it kind of floating in the canal itself. All of these projects will have demonstrations with them, where we'll collect data, we'll monitor, we'll evaluate different feasibilities for uses in these specific locations, but then also, of course, share the results broadly for others that are interested in these types of technologies. And that's all for me. I will pass it over to Fernando. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Fernando Castro Alvarez, Bureau of Reclamation, Washington, D.C. We're going to walk you through current status on what we're doing with Section 50233 of the IRA, otherwise known as the $4 billion section. You've heard this before, but the money is available through September 30th, 2026, and it's destined to help mitigate the impacts of drought in reclamation states, with priority given to the Colorado River Basin and other basins experiencing comparable levels of drought. To the right, you see an estimated breakout of the current spend plan. Might change, can always change, but this is the most up to date. We are destined to spend about 36% of the money in Colorado River short-term water savings that help us shore up elevations in the system through 2026. And then we are also focusing about 46% of this funding in the Colorado River for long-term solutions. Then 12% is targeted for other basins, and the Salton Sea is currently targeted for about 6%. Next slide, please. So as we rolled out the implementation of this program, we began with the Salton Sea Agreement. This is an agreement for $250 million to support what has been and continues to be an important issue in the state of California due to receding lake levels that are impacting air quality and water quality as well. The reason for starting here also is because the inflow to the Salton Sea comes from irrigation districts that, as they conserve more water for the benefit of shoring up elevations in Lake Mead, the inflow to the Salton Sea is reduced. So the impacts are exacerbated. Therefore, we all agreed that we needed to do something here to support the Salton Sea and the communities that surround it. So we focused this agreement there. Currently, we spent about, or allocated about $70 million to the state of California to create up to 7,000 acres of aquatic habitat for wildlife and to cover exposed lake bed, and about $2 million for the Torres Martinez tribe to help support their technical capacity for project implementation. The remainder of the funding is currently being worked on, and we'll make additional announcements very soon. Next slide, please. The lower Colorado River Basin, there we have executed so far 24 system conservation agreements totaling over 1.58 million acre feet of system water savings, an investment of about $670.2 million. We have exciting announcements coming up, so stay tuned on this side. And for bucket 2, we announced initial selections in June, and we're engaged in contract negotiations with selected partners. We are expecting to begin announcements on the specific projects as those contracts are executed. And we have news coming your way very, very soon as well on this front. We're also working on finalizing additional round of selections, and we will continue our engagement with partners accordingly. Next slide, please. And for the Upper Basin, we also had a short-term system conservation program that we coordinated and through the Upper Colorado River Commission. And we had 2 iterations of 1 single year of system conservation that together they have brought about 104,000 acre-feet of conservation in support of the Colorado River system. And the investment is about $45.9 million for 174 projects. Bucket 2, the long-term solutions. We have 2 prongs, the environmental ecosystem and habitat restoration track. We are accepting applications for that funding opportunity through October 14. We held a webinar that was more in depth, of course, about this funding opportunity on September 6th. And you can still catch it in that link, and I'll share the link here as well if you want to go through it. We also have frequently asked questions that we continuously update in that link in case you want to read through those. And there's an email there as well if you have additional questions. On the long-term water conservation projects, we're working through this funding opportunity. It's expected this fall, and that's it for the Upper Basin. Can we have the next slide, please? And I will turn it to Mr. Sean Thornby. Thank you all.
Thanks, Fernando. This is the second piece of the section 50233, the drought mitigation section. We call it Other Basins. So as you can see on this map, it shows the different categories of drought. Obviously in red is the Colorado River, which was the main focus of 50233. We did have a chunk of money for other basins experiencing comparable levels of long-term drought, which I'll talk about on the next slide. So these projects that we've got bulleted here equate to an increase of about $33.5 million from our last quarterly update in June. We announced in June that $141 million. And so we've increased that by the 33.5 since then. We've got the Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer Telemetry Project for $2 million, the Emergency Drought Relief Funding for the Rosa Irrigation District with $3.4 million, with the Toppenish Aquifer Recharge Project of $6 million, the North Branch Canal Lining for $1.6 million, the Washington State Conservation Agreements for $5 million, and the Middle Rio Grande Environmental Water Program for $5 million, the Lower Yellowstone Intake Bypass for $8 million, and the Lower Rio Grande Valley Water Resources Conservation Project for $2.5 million. So those all equate to that $33.5 million that we've just recently announced. And in the coming months, we hope to announce quite a bit more of other basins money to line out through the end of the calendar year. I will pass it over to Kelly Tittenser from our Native American Affairs Office to do the next slide.
I don't see Kelly on. Do you want to keep on going, Sean?
Sure, I can move. So section 80004, the Emergency Drought Relief for Tribes. It was $12.5 million to remain available until September 30th, 2026 for near-term drought relief actions to mitigate drought impacts for Indian tribes that are impacted by the operation of BOR water projects. So none of the funds provided by this section shall be subject to cost share or matching requirements. We can go to the next slide, please. So in 2023, Reclamation issued a request for projects to seek applications designed to provide near-term drought relief to mitigate drought impacts for Indian tribes that are impacted by Bureau of Reclamation water projects. We are currently reviewing the submissions for the project awards, and we anticipate announcing these in this fall. 10 applications were received with a total of 5.25 million in requests. And we're looking to do a second funding announcement that will be issued later this fall for rolling applications until all funds are awarded. I will turn it over to Matt.
Thanks, Sean, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matt Mossieri in the Operations Group in the Commissioner's Office with Bureau of Reclamation. Together with Beth Hughes Brown, we co-lead implementation of the BIL. So the last several slides have been associated with the Inflation Reduction Act. The next few slides will be on bipartisan infrastructure law, and then together we'll take any questions on both at the end of this presentation. Also, thank you to our subject matter experts that are on the phone with us that you've heard from: Darian, Natalie, Kelly Tittenser, sorry for the audio problems, and Fernando Castro Alvarez. And you'll meet one more, Chris Felton, in our mission support organization. They help keep Beth and I on the straight and narrow, and they're great at answering your questions too. So to start us off, here's a little bit of high-level context on BIL, just to catch us up from our last briefing in June. We were at about 530 some odd projects in June. We had just crossed into 4 billion. We're now at about 587 projects funded and well into the mid billions. You'll see that tally grow as we move forward through September and October, as we have a few more announcements to make. Of course, BIL is not, it's not a contest to spend money, it's a contest to deliver benefits. But what these numbers equate to is, more projects doing more things for more people. So we're very happy about that. I'm going to hand off for the next, please go to the next slide, and then I'll hand off to Beth Hughes Brown. This slide is basically just where we have allocated, what types of projects we have allocated BIL funding to. This is project categories from the BIL language. And the numbers that you see there, those are just numbers of projects. So on the biggest piece of light blue there on the right side, 199 Water Smart grants. On the next biggest shade, about 178 aging infrastructure projects, and so on and so forth per the legend. We'll be moving those numbers around as we go. We have another tranche of aging infrastructure project selections about to be announced, hopefully in the next several weeks. So the margins always change a little bit as we go through, but we've used this pie chart before. We'll keep on using it because we feel like it's a good high-level indication of where's the money going, what type of projects. Next slide, please, and I'll hand off to Beth.
Hi there, Beth Hughes Brown, work with Matt. So far, we get along, more or less. So obligations, of course, is where the money goes out the door. So what's exciting is that we've already had 2.1 billion of BIL funds obligated on those projects that Matt just showed you. But what happens at the end of the year is it's amazing what happens in acquisitions, grants, contracts, and so on. And there's another 320 million that we're expecting to obligate by the end of fiscal 24, which will bring that obligation number magically up to 2.4 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of people who are working some seriously long hours. And as you can see, there's a lot of benefits to the people who need it. So we're proud of that, and we're proud of our employees. Next slide, please. And I am turning that back over to Matt.
Okay, the pie chart, thanks Beth. Pie chart slide from a couple of slides ago is projects. This is just geographically where they're at. This is the same information, just obviously depicted geographically. Fun fact, on one of the smaller groups of dots, the dark blue dots, the storage and conveyance. There's storage and conveyance projects that are being funded by BIL in Arizona, Colorado, California, Montana, Utah, and Washington. But obviously there's water storage. Reclamation has a portfolio of projects in all 17 Western states. As I'll mention on another slide, though, with BIL, we're doing things and reaching areas with BIL that we haven't really gone into that much yet. We haven't done small storage in some of these locations and so forth. So it's because of the participation of the tribes and the districts and the NGOs, like those of you on this call, that we're able to do that. These are sort of crowdsourced project proposals. And since the very beginning, it's consistent with how Reclamation has run its program. We're a federal agency, but everything about Reclamation is works because it is a partnership with non-federal entities. So thanks for, if you're one of the people that have had one of those projects, thanks for doing it. Next slide, please. These next two slides, this one and the next one, just sum up some of the open BIL related funding opportunities. I won't belabor or go through every single bullet. These are all online. All of this is online. You can get to it from our BIL page, or you can get to it from various program specific pages. But as I said before, if you're one of the districts that have hosted us for any of these visits, or put up a sign or anything, or if you've let us literally walk through your construction sites, as we've done dozens of times, and then pausing the guys with the bulldozers and the loaders, thank you for doing that. We appreciate getting a chance to get out and see these projects, and we appreciate your role in making them happen. The next slide I'll go to here, I'll just flag two quick details. So my pagination got messed up a little bit, but I'll mention there's two programs mentioned on this slide that do expire pretty soon, which is the large scale recycling, and it is got a sunset date on it in the BIL, and the small scale storage. We will get more into program sunsets a couple of slides from now, but I just want to say those NOFOs that are open right now are sort of, the programs are winding down as they burn through the appropriation that was made to them in BIL. And depending on what happens, they will sunset as of November 15th, 2026. But for the time being, on this slide, bullet number 2, aging infrastructure. We are almost done finalizing, I alluded to this earlier, our 4th set of selected applications under this program. And the difference that it's making is huge. We've, some of these extraordinary maintenance projects or aging infrastructure projects that we announced this past May, like Mini-Wachoni waterline replacement for about $49 million, or $25 million for Altus Dam in Oklahoma. These aging infrastructure projects are so numerous, and sometimes they are so big that they will dwarf the rest of our budget request for aging infrastructure. Annually Reclamation makes a budget request for a lot of these extraordinary maintenance needs, but the BIL has been such a big infusion of about $3 billion specifically for aging infrastructure. It gave us resources to do stuff that we knew needed doing, but that we might not be able to do all at once via the regular budget request process, and do it in a relatively short period. So it's been very helpful with our portfolio in that regards. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, we're doing stuff with BIL that we haven't before, funding locally led small storage projects and locally led large scale recycling projects, and we're reaching communities that we haven't before. Another example, this isn't mentioned on the slide, but in the far southernmost tip of Texas, Hidalgo County, Cameron County, we've got 6 BIL funded projects down there at the southernmost edge of Texas. So we've, we don't have a huge portfolio previously in Texas, so it's notable that it's able to bring the benefits of the reclamation program further than it's gotten to before, and it's been very good for that reason, to bring those benefits further. For the next slide, I'm going to hand off to Chris Felton in our mission support organization, and he'll lead us through a quick discussion update on Buy America. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thanks, Matt. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're sitting. My name is Chris Felton. I'm the manager of the Financial Assistance Policy Branch of the Mission Support Organization here at Reclamation. I'm going to chat with you all on the Build America, Buy America Act, which was included in the bipartisan infrastructure law. And that requires that all iron, steel, manufactured products, and construction materials used in infrastructure projects funded by federal financial assistance be produced in the United States unless the project is subject to an approved waiver. And so the Act, the BABA Act, which was codified at 2 CFR Part 184, permits waivers from the requirement for non-availability of a product, unreasonable costs, and public interest. And then those waiver types, they have subcategories that you can see here on the slide, and some of those include general applicability waivers, project-specific waivers, and the tribal consultation waiver. To date, Reclamation has had 6 BABA waivers approved. All of those waivers do have expiration dates, so they do not go on in perpetuity. And those waivers can be found via the link that you see here on the slide. And those slides will be shared later. So something additional we'd like to add is we do currently have a general applicability product non-availability waiver for AMI water meters posted for public comment through September 28th, and that's out on the Department of the Interior BABA website. And we're also still working on a Colorado River general applicability waiver. So that's all for your BABA update, and I'll pass things back to Matt to highlight some additional items to make you all aware of. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. So for the next slide, I'm gonna just remind back what I talked about earlier. We have a couple of programs that are sunsetting after 2026, small storage programs and large scale recycling. I mentioned those because those programs have a constituency of several districts who have been awarded funding on that. For small storage, we were appropriated $100 million in the BIL. And so we have done annual application periods. Right now, we have open an application period for small storage to allocate the remainder of what we have left of that $100 million. So we bundled 2 years of applications together in a $43 million NOFO that's open right now, funding opportunity. On large scale recycling, the other one, we were appropriated $450 million on that one, and we have that NOFO open as well. We got a total of 500 million, we can fund 25% of projects that are large scale recycling projects. Those projects don't have to be bigger than $500 million. So the 450 that we got in relation to the projects is obviously that ratio is just, it's meant to be the minority fraction of the total non-federal investment in those projects. So I flagged those expirations to make sure everyone is aware of those. We are not lobbying anyone on that right now. We just want to make sure people are aware that since those programs, barring any different congressional action, they will disappear after 2026. So home stretch, we can go to the next slides and then we'll wrap up here. Final comments, and then I'll hand back to Deputy Commissioner Roque Sanchez. We're reusing this slide, but it's important because it helps sort of keep orientation between the differences between programs and projects under BIL. And to let you know that as we transition here to Q&As, there is, as you see on this slide, a lot of other means to get information about BIL and IRA. We hope you use them. We do answer the emails that go into our email inbox that is, I think, displayed on the last page. And we hope that you will make use of those resources. If there's something that we're not able to cover here today, or you don't want to ask the question, please put it either into the chat or send us an email, because we really do answer those and see those. So thanks again for all of your participation in this call, as well as in tracking our BIL and IRA implementation. And thanks again to our subject matter experts, Darian, Natalie, Chris, Kelly, and Fernando for leading us through your slides on this. With that, I'll hand back to Deputy Commissioner Sanchez.
Hey, thank you, Matt. So as we close out, I just want to offer thanks again to all of our reclamation staff that have been working on the implementation of BIL and IRA. This is a historic amount of funding and also a historic amount of work. So I just want to recognize all of the effort that's gone to get to us, get to this point. So as we close, I think one thing I'll point you to, we've got our links here. These slides will be shared up on the website, as folks have said earlier, at the link. And this provides all of the info you'll need to learn more about our programs and to contact us. So this photo, real quick before we end, this is one of my favorite projects I've been able to visit recently. This was the completion of a water storage reservoir in Madison, North Dakota, part of the Lewis and Clark project. And because of our BIL funding on this project, we were able to get to completion of the overall Lewis and Clark base system about a decade sooner than we would have otherwise. So, really when we talk about once in a generation, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. The opportunity here is huge, but I do want to leave everyone here with a slight sense of urgency, especially on the BIL side. As Matt mentioned, BIL money comes out over a 5-year stretch, and we are just about to enter year 4 out of 5. So I do want to encourage folks that we're past the halfway point and to make hay while the sun is shining if you have a potential project to work with us on. So I do encourage folks to reach out to the area offices, to reach out to the folks mentioned here on the call if you have questions about funding opportunities as those are announced. So with that, I'll turn it back to Mary, who's going to help us facilitate some Q&A here with our remaining time. Mary, thanks.
Thank you. Absolutely. We're extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far, and looking forward to the rest of the ride here. So together, we are prioritizing water reliability and resiliency to drought in the West. So at this time, we are ready to address your questions. Please raise your hand using the hand icon at the top middle, sort of right-hand side of your screen. There's that little hand that says raise. If you're interested in asking a question, please click on that, and we'll be watching for the hands to come up, and we will answer your questions in the order that we see them. You can also put your questions in the chat if you'd rather do it that way. We're okay with that. And if you don't get your question in today, but still, or go back and realize you have a question later, please feel free to submit that at usbr.bil@usbr.gov, or if it's an Inflation Reduction Act question, at usbr.ir.act@usbr.gov. So thank you very much. Let's look and see if we have any questions. I'll be going back and forth here a little between the list of people to see if I see any hands up or the chat. So if anybody sees a hand up, please let me know.
Hey, Mary, I just had one very exciting update. As of yesterday, we hit 1.7 billion of obligations for IRA. A lot happens at the end of the year, and it's all those people that are working so very hard, acquisitions and everybody else. And we, of course, don't measure ourselves by how much money we get out, but it's one way of keeping track of all the work we've been doing and all the benefits, as Matt pointed out before. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. That's great news. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Let me know if you all see anything, but so it looks like we don't have any questions, and I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So again, you are welcome to submit those questions by email later. The email addresses are in the chat. Of course, the web pages are also in the chat, so you can go see the recordings of these meetings or any recent information you'd like to look up there. Again, on behalf of the Bureau of Reclamation, thank you for attending today's information session. We are dedicated to transparently implementing the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act. Please go to usbr.gov/BIL or www.usbr.gov/inflation-reduction act to view all scheduled sessions and updated information, including frequently asked questions. Thank you for joining us today. Have a good afternoon.